All right, good morning, traders. Today is May 20th, 2026. My name, Coach Carignan, lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room, day trading division for Hit and Run Candlesticks family. Thank you, everybody, for following my social media content, liking my social media content, subscribing to any of my social media content. Appreciate that. Love that. I am honored that you chose to gather your education through my teachings or my lessons. Love that. Special shout out to everybody that shares the BYOB content. That goes out to Bob Jordan, John Jordan, Kathy Sarah Roasted, Ed Carter, Rick Sadler, everybody that helps get the good word out there to the World Wide Web. Help to educate the masses. Appreciate that. Love that. All right, let's go ahead and just get started this morning. Before we get started, just want to bring up this is the summary. We're going to go back over it in a minute. In the pre-market, this morning I observed some 10-minute uptrend over the post-market consolidation. That'd be from yesterday. So for me, that is a bullish environment. I plan to trade an uptrend over 734.50 to 737.45 identified resistance, and then hopefully higher if they can get on top of that 737.45 resistance, kind of hold that area, and then up higher on to 742 pre-market call wall up there. Okay, now if we get held up at the 737.45 resistance, I'll be looking for a downtrend that happens to manifest up here, but as it shoots its way down through 734, I will have a target of the pre-market put wall, which happens to be at this time absolute gamma exposure at the same time as being the put wall, which is the strike of 730, and that's plus or minus. Anytime you see a call wall or put wall strike right there, it's going to always be plus or minus 50 cents. Okay, so this could be 729.50 on up to 730.50. Okay, like this one could be 741.50 on up to 742.50. Okay, so around those areas. Okay, so whenever you see those put wall, call wall strikes, either plus or minus 50 cents each time. So that's what we got so far. Now, okay, still an hour and a half before the market opens. A lot of things could change. We could get on top of 737.45 and consolidate, and that would be very good for the bulls. We could get rejected and already start making our way down towards 730, which happens to be the absolute gamma exposure. Now, in the pre-market with the gamma exposure, currently we have, let me just drag it up here just for a second. Okay, currently we were in a negative gamma regime, and things have changed. Okay, so now we're in a positive gamma regime. Okay, so now because we're in a positive gamma regime, if we happen to meander our way down to the put wall, all right, and we're still in a positive gamma regime, the put wall will act as support, and hopefully we bounce off of the support back up toward the pivot. Okay, but now we're in a positive gamma regime. We were not in that before. So again, the call wall now is at 740, no longer 742, and the put wall still remains at 730. Okay, so and this may change again before we get open. So as we move forward through, if we are in a positive gamma regime and we're coming up to the call wall, which is also positive up here, this will absorb the price action as we come into the call wall. Okay, now if we are in a negative gamma regime and we come into the call wall, all right, most likely it will act as resistance and we will bounce away from it and back down towards support. We'll look for support and probably down towards the put wall down here. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. If you're confused, shout out. I will be happy to review it and say it in different words that maybe would help you to understand it. Okay, so let's move this out of the way for right now. We'll come back to it. Let's get the announcements up. All right, so this Thursday, members e-learning on Thursday, and that's tomorrow. All right, so it's 21st. Starts at noon. All right, Doug's going to do about an hour. I'm going to do about an hour. Rick's going to do about an hour. Presentation on support and resistance, seeing and using those levels. Of course, you see us use those every day because we talk about it. We see it with the put walls and the call walls and the various other points of resistance and support. So it'll be, again, kind of a review for all of you here in the BYOB Trading Room to see that. Plus, we'll get to see Doug's take on support and resistance and Rick's. And I don't think they'll be too much different than mine. Just something, they become just an obstacle, all right, and something to just kind of keep an eye on, all right. Again, we can roll over them or we can bounce away from them. That's pretty much what happens when we get to support and resistance levels. All right, so if you don't see me here in the room, I'm going to be in the combo room. So where's the combo room? Let's pull it up here, okay? So, all right, so here, you log into your Hit and Run Candlesticks website, you know, just like you always do, all right, to get to your members area. But next to, while you're in your members area, you look over here, you see Combined E-Learning Room. You just punch that or press log in right there. It'll open up a new page in your browser, all right, and it will have the combo room, and you just log in your credentials and get logged in, and you'll be in the combo room. Again, it starts at noon tomorrow, all right. All of those should be recorded. Sometimes we miss and we don't get them recorded, but they all should be recorded tomorrow. If you want to know where they are under resources. Come on down to e-learning replay. All right, and you'll see the past webinars for the members right through here. Now, there's 10 per page, all right, and there's 36 pages, okay? So that's 360 videos, all right? And if that's not enough videos, okay, go back to resources, hit public webinar replays, okay? Again, 10 per page on various other topics. Okay, and 20 pages of 10 there, so there's another 200 videos. Okay, so we got you covered when it comes to learning. All right, and if there's something that you're looking for and you can't find it between this resources and the other resources, just send us a message. We'll be happy to do a presentation on it. All right, so that's it right there on the webinar, and you see how to get in there. Again, that's from your members page. You go over to the right and you see Combo E-Learning Room. Okay, so we'll be in there from noon till 3 o'clock roughly. Okay, so I probably won't be broadcasting from noon till 3 o'clock. I'll be in there doing the learning, listening to everybody's presentation. All right, so if you were looking for me, that's where I'm going to be on Thursday. So let's take this down. Let's take a look. Let's push this over. All right. And you can see a little bit of the price action this morning. All right. We see the consolidation from last night. You can see right here. See how to notice kind of it runs straight across there. Consolidation, bear flag. But instead of breaking down, they looped around, made a higher low, double bottomed here, and then started meandering back up towards the resistance area. Okay, so we've got identified 737.45 resistance. You can see us approach that area. We tag it with the spike of a wick up there, and you can see us consolidating underneath. That is a very good sign. If we lose 50%, over 50% of this move up, okay, there's a high probability we're going to roll over, come back down, test the lows from yesterday, and maybe even probably come back down here to 730. May even start testing the 730 put wall. All right, so that's where we're at right now. If we lose probably more than 50% of this move up there, okay, so Don't want to get below 734.95. All right. There's a possibility we get below 734.95. We start testing the lows down here, testing the lows from yesterday, maybe even testing the put wall. We'll see what happens. Again, it's about an hour and a half before we open. Anything could happen here. All right. So that's it. We got the identified resistance. I'll pan out. Okay, you can see all these wicks or price action that goes up into this area, and then you can see it gets turned away. And you can see while we were above it, we came down to it, and then we got turned away right at the same spot to go to the upside. See how we got turned away, and then finally we broke through. Now we're underneath it. We test it, consolidate, and tried to break down. Okay, so you can see all the times we've tested this same area. So this is resistance. So I'm going to take this off of here. I'm going to take the line off of here. I'm going to take the box off of here. And let's go ahead and hit the, excuse me, let's hit the summary. And that's right here. Okay, so good morning and thanks for being here. Pivot this morning, 734.30. Above it, bullish. Below it, bearish. Yesterday, SPY, QQQ, FNGU made lower lows, lower highs. They closed inside bullish traps. I think they closed below bullish traps. Have to take a look at that. Yeah, they closed below bullish traps. Got to correct that. I knew something was up. Okay, it closed below bullish traps. Okay, but over there rising 17 EMAs. IWM, lower low, lower high, closed under a bearish trap. And under the flat 17 EMA, Diamond Dow, lower low, lower high, closed under a bearish cross. And under the rising 17 EMA yesterday, SPY closed 10-minute downtrend and still residual 2-hour downtrend. Gold, lower low, lower high, closed under a bearish trap and under the flat 17. Silver, lower low, lower high, closed under the bearish trap under the flat 17 EMA. USO made an inside day. It's a lower high. It's a higher low. Closed over a bullish trap over the rising 17. UNG made a higher low, higher high. It's about the 5th or 6th day in a row for UNG going up. Made a higher low, higher high. Closed over a bullish trap and over the rising 17. Might want to keep an eye on that one. US dollar index now in a daily uptrend within the bear flag. Closed near the 99.31 area. They've tested the top of that bear flag about 5 times, and they failed to break through. SPYMAX paying for today is 739 with a put-to-call ratio of about 1.5 puts for each call. That expires today at 4:15. The main event this week will be the NVIDIA earnings tonight after option closing that happens at 4:15. All right, remember option closing for indexes happens at 4:15. For securities, it happens at 4. So they will most likely not release anything, although you will see some flaky activity before 4:15, and pay no attention to it. All right, it's just noise. But after 4:15, NVIDIA will probably release their earnings. Okay, so now if this is your first time seeing this, these are all in daily uptrends over the 17 EMA. If this is your first time seeing this, these are all in daily downtrends under the 17 EMA. If they have a little star next to them, that means they've been identified as building out a bull flag or a platform, a launch pad, okay? Building out a launch pad or a bull flag to launch higher, okay? If they got a little dash, it means they've already started the breakout. On this side, if they got a little star next to it, they're building out a bear flag, all right? Or I call it a platform from which to dive lower, all right? So bullish, bearish, up over the trend up over the 17 EMA, trend down below the falling 17 EMA. So rising 17 EMA, declining 17 EMA. So downtrend, uptrend right there. That's our little watch list right there. Okay, let's take a look at the markets and let's review what happened yesterday. Okay, let's start with the pre-market. I'll go to the 10-minute, and I'm not going to get any of yesterday's pre-market activity, but I know I do post a lot of winning trades. This is one that did not work out for me. All right, so I went long on the MES futures and SPY shares right here, and price rolled over at that resistance, and I got stopped out at, 734.25 right there. Okay, so I got stopped out on that one. I'm pretty sure that's the right one. Yeah, 519. Yeah, I took this long. It looked like it was going to break up over this area right here. It did get up there for a little bit. Took some profit up there, but then it rolled all the way back and just went for a downtrend. So I was looking for gap fill, never got it. And then probably up to the call wall, never got it. Okay, and there was a green erases red entry right here. We got close to it, but we couldn't close candles up there. Okay, so we got, and my stop was way back here. Okay, so this is one of those ones that didn't work out for me. Okay, so I saw the triple bottom. I thought for sure this is going to be a good one for it to like shoot through, and they just didn't have quite enough mustard, red meat, iron, whatever it takes to get through that wall or that resistance. They just didn't have enough right there, and they got rolled over, came back down, started a downtrend. Okay, so that was yesterday. All right, let's take that out of the way. Let's go to guidance from yesterday. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay, so I plan to trade the uptrend. You can see I got stopped out on that. I plan to trade the 10-minute downtrend below 734 to the pre-market put wall 732. Let's take a look at that. Okay, pretty sure that one worked out. All right, so this was yesterday. You can see this is the 19th, below 734. So we got below 734, and we rode this all the way down to the put wall, which happens to be 732. All right, in the pre-market. So that's plus or minus 50 cents. So you can see we got all the way down to 731.50, right down there in the crosshairs. Okay, so we took this down to the downtrend. Wound up with triple bottom here, finding support at the put wall. All right, and it kind of acted like a trampoline, and you can see then we started this 10-minute uptrend, and we rode that all the way up into resistance 737, 45. You can see right there 737.45, which is the same number we're dealing with this morning. Okay, so you can see we rode it all the way up there, and from there it rolled over and came back down to test the lows. And I noticed they didn't make a higher high here. See, they needed to make a higher high. They didn't quite get it. They needed to make a lower low here and here, and they didn't quite get it. So we're consolidating in here. So it may just waffle around all morning long for about 4 hours until they decide to bust a move and give us a breakout. Okay, so there's that possibility as well. Okay, you notice yesterday failed to make a higher high, significant higher high, even just a higher high. They didn't get it. And then you can see in the as we approach the post market from yesterday, we failed to make a lower low. Now we did leave off with a 10-minute downtrend yesterday. It's very likely that we do see a 10-minute downtrend manifest up here, and I'd be interested in taking that to the downtrend, to the downside if one does happen to manifest. I'd just like to see some kind of evidence of red erases green. All right, so like right below that 734.31, that would be a little bit of red erases green. We'll see what happens. Again, if they can hold above the 50-yard line right here, I have a little bit of confidence in them that they will break through that 737.45 resistance. If they hold this area up above the 50-yard line, all right, that would be 50% retracement right there. They get below that, and I think we're coming down here to test those lows again. So we may get chopped this morning All right, we'll see what happens, but I do like the consolidation. I do like the 10-minute uptrend that we had earlier early in the pre-market. I like the consolidation up near the highs. I think they consolidate there for a good 1 or 2 hours. They may punch through on the opening candles, or we'll see what happens. Though, again, anything could happen. We're about an hour before we open up, hour and 10 minutes. So things could change. We could develop a 10-minute downtrend. We'll see what happens. But that's the plan for this morning. And you can see what's going on there. So I showed you yesterday's plan. We took it down here. We made money. We took it up here. We made money. Didn't expect this. Did expect a pullback to VWAP. Got a little bounce there. But then they rolled over and took it out. All right. So we'll see what happens. So there's SPY on the 10-minute. So into the close yesterday, you can see 10-minute downtrend coming into the close, 2-hour chart. You can see the sticks and the 3 riding underneath the falling 8. You got daylight between the 3 and the 8. Okay, so you've got 2-hour downtrend yesterday coming into the close. Daily candle. Is a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath the bullish trap. Okay, I know I said over. And then over the rising 17 EMA. We're still in the middle of quadrant 4. That's bullish. And we still have not made any lower lows below the 17. So that we're still bullish, still in an uptrend, even with those 3 days pullback right there on the SPY on the daily chart. So we're still bullish in an uptrend on daily, weekly, and monthly. And 2-hour and the 10-minute were both in downtrends when we left off yesterday. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so very likely we do get a little bit of consolidation for maybe the first 4 hours or the first 2 hours. We'll see what happens. All right, SPY on the daily. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ 10-minute chart. Yesterday coming into the close, you can see the sticks and the 3 riding underneath the falling 8. You got daylight between the 3 and the 8. Got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close on the QQQ yesterday, coming into the close. On the 2-hour chart, you got the sticks and the 3 riding underneath, sloping down 8 right here. Okay, so we've got a little bit of daylight between the 3 and the 8. You got to squint your eye to see that one. But you can see we got 2-hour downtrend coming into the close yesterday on the QQQ. On the daily candle, much like SPY, we got a lower high and a lower low. We closed under the bullish trap, but over the rising 17 in the middle of quadrant 4. So that's bullish. Still haven't made any lower lows below the 17. So we're still bullish and in an uptrend on the daily, weekly, and monthly time frame. Remember, that's the all-time high for QQQ and SPY right up there. It's that candle that's about 4 days ago right there. All right, let's take a look at FNGU. All right, FNGU, same deal. On the daily candle, lower high, lower low, closed underneath, bullish trap, closed on top of rising 17. How come the quad lines aren't on there? Let's move it here. Quad lines aren't on that one either. Come on, people. All right, let's go to include that. Okay, so you can still see FNGU still in the upper third. So that's bullish. All right, we have not made any lower lows below the 17. So there is bullish and still in an uptrend, even with the pullback we've had. So that's FNGU on the daily chart. Don't forget NVIDIA reports tonight. All right, so let's take a look at IWM. And IWM got a be this candle right here, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, closing underneath the flat 17, closing in the upper third, so it's still bullish, have not made any lower lows, so that's bullish and still in an uptrend for IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow's a lower high, lower low, closing underneath bearish cross, closing over the rising 17 in the bottom of quadrant 4, right down here, bottom of quadrant 4. So that's bullish up there, and they have not made any lower lows, okay, below the 17. So they're still in an uptrend. So that's bullish, and they're up over that all-time high anchored VWAP. Bullish and in an uptrend for Diamond Dow. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold real quick. All right, be this candle right here, lower high, lower low, underneath the bearish trap, underneath the 17, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. I'll pan way out so you can see where we are. See, we're in quadrant 3 right there, bottom of quadrant 3. Here's the origin back in 2022, right there. Okay, so we're neutral because we're not in the upper third. Okay, on the quad lines, you divide it into thirds. I just eyeball it. Okay, I don't like get the protractor and the compass and the ruler out. I just eyeball it. Okay, so up here would be bullish, everything above the crosshairs there. Okay, and you can see we're not above the crosshairs. Below the crosshairs here would be bearish. So we're neutral because we're in between there. And we're still in an uptrend because we haven't made any lower lows. We have to take out this low right here. And if we take out that low, we convert the uptrend to a downtrend. Right now, we're still in an uptrend, but we're just not moving up. On silver, we're underneath that all-time high anchored VWAP. So neutral and in a dysfunctional uptrend. That's what I'm going to call it because it's not moving up. Let's take a look at gold. All right, gold yesterday, lower high, lower low, under the bearish trap, under the falling 17. Still in a downtrend, yet to make a higher high. Okay, gold, bullish, all right, they're in the upper third. Another one that's not moving up. Okay, you got silver not moving up, gold not moving up. Okay, so here's gold still in a downtrend because they've yet to make the higher high, but they're bullish because they're still in the upper third. All right, and you can see them closing right there in the top of quadrant 3 in the upper third section if I eyeball it. All right, and they're underneath that all-time high anchored VWAP. Silver's in the same spot underneath that all-time high anchored VWAP. Only thing, silver's down here at the bottom of quadrant 3, whereas gold's at the top of quadrant 3 and happens to be in the upper third above the crosshairs. Okay, so bullish, but in a downtrend on gold. All right, let's take a look at USO. All right, USO is going to be this red candle doji right up here. So inside day, lower high, higher low, closed over a bullish trap, over the rising 17, top of quadrant 4. By the way, that is a 11-year high right there. Okay, a new 11-year high. We have not been up there since about 11 years ago. Okay, closing over the bullish trap, over the rising 17. That's going to be bullish up here. Okay, at the top of quadrant 4. All right, and obviously hasn't made any lower lows below the 17. So we're in an uptrend for USO. Let's take a look at UNG. Changing character here. Yesterday's candle, nice candle, higher low, higher high. Closed the high of the day near the end of the day. Nice look there. Ran right into whatever that moving average is, probably the 100. Anyways, closed over the bullish trap, over the hooking 17 EMA. Still, let's pan out so you can see the full picture. Okay, still in quadrant 1. Okay, up here's bullish, down here's bearish. Still in quadrant 1, so still bearish, but moving up. All right, in an uptrend. They haven't made a lower low. They made higher highs because there's a high. They made a higher high and then another higher high. So bullish, bearish. Okay, because we're down here in quadrant 1 and in an uptrend. Still underneath that 14-month high anchored VWAP. We did not set the bar very high. Okay, just 14 months ago. Just try to get on top of that and hold the higher ground. They've been struggling with that for the last 14 months, is to get up there and hold the higher ground. They've just found it very difficult to get that done. Okay, so there's UNG. By the way, that is the all-time low. And you can see just recently we were flirting with those all-time lows. It'd be interesting to see what happens to UNG once the Straits of Hormuz get straightened out and we find some peace over there in the Persian Gulf. I would like to see where UNG lands after that. Okay, right now I think this is a little bit of hype right now. But after that's taken care of, wherever it lands, I think that will be the true bottom, wherever that winds up being. So there's UNG on the daily chart. Again, bearish and in an uptrend. Look at internals, T2101. Market melts off and participation, absolute breadth increases. So that's a bearish sign for me. T2122. We fell out of the seller's chop zone into the sell zone. And that's a bearish clue for me there. Okay, T2123, 15-minute chart, bearish gap down, never filled by the bulls all day. That's another bearish clue for me there. We're underneath the hook now, the falling 200 SMA. Don't want to be down there unless you're a bear. Okay, if you're a bull, this is not the place to be. But if we back out, look at the big picture, we're still bullish because we're in the upper third. But let's face it, we're making lower lows, so we're in this downtrend. Okay, so maybe this is the end. Maybe this is the exhaustion. You can see that bearish gap down, and then they stayed down here. So bullish, but in a downtrend. Okay, on the 15-minute chart, on the 3-bar chart. Okay, a little bit different story up over the rising 200. That's where you want to be if you're a bull. In the bottom of quadrant 4 is still bullish, okay? And they have not made lower lows on the 3-bar chart. So on the 3-bar, on the bigger time frame, bullish and in an uptrend still, but not on the 15-minute. They are bullish, but in a downtrend, okay? So currently bullish on the 3-bar and in an uptrend over the rising 200 SMA right up there. Okay, that is the all-time high, by the way, right there. That is the latest all-time high set right here in the month of May. Okay, let's take a look at FNGU. Yesterday's price action. No real gapping. If they did gap, they filled it on the first 15-minute candle. Okay, we did... Yeah, we made a higher high right here. So we leave off on FNGU. We close under the rising 200. Okay, not my favorite place to be unless I'm a bear. We closed with a high here and a higher high. So we closed with an uptrend until they make a lower low. And you can see this low right here was supposed to... In order to get the lower low, they had to take out this low here. They failed to do it, so we're still in that uptrend right there. So FNGU is, I'm going to call it bullish because I'm going to stick the quad lines on here so I can show you. So we're still quadrant 4, that's bullish. So still bullish, all right? And in an uptrend that doesn't seem to be moving up. All right, so bullish and in an uptrend that doesn't seem to be moving up. Okay, that's FNGU. US dollar index, you can see we're up here. Oh, by the way, okay, so there's the downtrend, daily downtrend for 2025. There's the high for 2025. So you can see we start this downtrend making lower highs and lower lows. And then we come out of the downtrend into a bear flag after breaking through all of this major support right here. And you can see 5 times we've tried to break back into this consolidation zone, but we have not been able to pass. So we've been in this, it's a 6-month drop. There's your flagpole. There's a 10-month bear flag. There's the fabric of the flag. And you can see we are now in a daily uptrend. We were in a downtrend, but this is a big bear flag, 10 months, all right? So there's been more than 2 uptrends and more than 2 downtrends within this bear flag. We have a high. We made a higher high, so we are in a daily uptrend currently on the US dollar index right now within the bear flag right there. So you can see they got overhead resistance that they will be coming into. Maybe they pass this time, maybe they don't. Okay, so there was the internals. Let's take a look at the gamma exposure, see if anything's changed there. Still the put wall, which put wall is still 730. Call wall is no longer 742. It is 740. That could change as we approach it. The net gamma regime is still positive, not by much. 164 million is not much. Absolute gamma is at 735, and price will probably be attracted to that because it's got the most gamma exposure, and that typically dealers like to send price toward that number so that they can alleviate all of their gamma exposure that they have. So chances are price will gravitate towards that 735 number. All right. Again, we were trying to get over 737.45. So we may see a pullback. So we may see some consolidation chop day. All right. Notice where this is. Now this will change once the market opens. Okay. Things change when the market opens. So we'll see where everything lays once the market's open. If the regime is still positive. All right. And if the call and the put wall remain the same, and where the absolute gamma exposure happens to be. All right. Let's take a look at max pain is 739. Unless, of course, they changed it on me. Oh, okay, they did. So 735 now. And the put to call ratio is 1.2 puts for each call. See, I'm glad I checked. Okay, 735 and put to call ratio 1.25. So notice we've got a max pain number that actually lines up with the gamma absolute gex. If we go back here. So this 735 and max pain 735. So probably going to be attracted to 735. Don't be surprised if we see a 10-minute downtrend start to manifest and we start winding our way back down towards 735 before the market opens. All right. Earnings calendar. This is the big one. The tip of the spear. All right, is the NVIDIA. This is the hardware that makes all of the AI be AI. Okay. So $5.4 trillion right there. Okay. That's a market mover. That's like a CPI and an FOMC and employment situation all rolled into one. Okay, that's going to be huge, whatever they happen to report. I got a hunch it's going to be good numbers. Intel had a good quarter. AMD had a great quarter, and they're very heavily into AI. I got a good hunch NVIDIA is probably going to be a good number. I wouldn't be surprised to see price rip all the way back up to 750. All right, on SPY if they report some good numbers in NVIDIA. We'll see how the market wants to treat it. Okay, we'll have to take a peek and see what happens. But that's going to be a market mover, so could be good or bad. We'll see what happens. So you might want to be hedged going into tonight's earnings, which probably get released about 4:20, right after the market options are closed, right there. Okay, so that's earnings tonight. Economic calendar, we got FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. I don't think anything's going to change there. I'm not really excited about hearing about the minutes. I don't think anything's good coming because energy's so expensive. If this continues like this, all I got to say is CEOs are going to have to take action. All right? Because they want to perform. You know, if you don't make those profits for the shareholders, you know, you get your pink slip. Okay? So CEOs are going to be under pressure to make sure that if they can ink out, you know, a higher price point for their services and goods, you know, they're gonna ask for it. Um, so whatever it takes, you know, they certainly don't want to lose their job because energy costs are higher. Okay, so keep an eye on that. I don't know, FOMC. Not much they can do. I think they really just need to wait to see what happens once that ends over there. Um, Lowering rates just going to cause more inflation. Raising rates, I think, is kind of too premature. But that's just me. They think a different way, so we'll see what happens. Tomorrow, housing starts and permits 8:30. Jobless claims 8:30. Philly Fed Manufacturing Index 8:30. 8:30. PMI Composite Flash 9:45. Natural gas inventories at 10:30. We've got, of course, petroleum inventories at 10 today. Okay, and then that's it. No Fed speakers. And then Friday, we'll visit Friday when we get closer to it. That's it. All right, so that's it for me for this morning. We'll see what happens here. I'm looking for a 10-minute downtrend to probably manifest, being since the absolute GEX, GEM exposure, and the max pain happen to be the same number. So we'll see what happens here. Let's take a look one more time before we open up. And they're still consolidating. Oh, they took a stab at that. Look, they did. They took a stab at the 737.45 number. Look at that. I needed them to close on top of it. Certainly don't want to see a failed breakout. And that's might be what we're looking at, is a failed breakout. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a 10-minute downtrend or a 5-minute downtrend manifest from here. I'd be looking for gap fill and a visit to the 735 number. All right, so you're not going to catch that on a 10-minute candle. All right, so if you're gonna want to trade that down to 735, you're not going to catch that on a 10-minute candle. You might, but by the time everything rolls over and you get a trend going, I think you're going to be right at 735. So if you want to trade that when it does happen, if it does happen, it's probably want to do it on a 3 or a 5-minute chart. Again, I'm looking at the price action. I think there's a possibility we just consolidate this morning. This is a nice bullish move. Wanted to see a successful breakout. Maybe they do get the breakout. We'll find out in about 45 minutes. All right? Any questions? If not, I'm going to see you guys, and we'll open up the market here in 45 minutes. Thanks, traders. Thank you so much.